The ceremony took place in the Grand Hall of the Galactic Confederation's capital ship, with representatives from hundreds of species gathered to witness humanity's formal entry into galactic civilization. Admiral Taman stood at the center of the hall, wearing Earth's dress uniform as Ambassador Kira 9 prepared to speak. 6 months had passed since the destruction of the Vextar swarm. In that time, the galaxy had changed dramatically. Earth was no longer a mythical death world mentioned only in cautionary tales. Now it was the home of the beings who had saved galactic civilization from extinction. By unanimous vote of the Confederation Council, Kira 9 announced, "We formally invite Earth to join our alliance not as ordinary members, but as guardian protectors of known space." Captain Hyan watched from his position among the human delegation. The title of Guardian Protector was something entirely new, created specifically for humanity. It recognized that humans fought differently from other species and gave them the authority to act independently when threats emerged. Commander So Young approached Admiral Taemin as the ceremony concluded. Over the past months, she had become Earth's primary alien liaison, helping bridge the gap between human and alien military thinking. "Admiral," So Young said, "there's something you need to know. We've been receiving reports of unusual energy signatures from outside our galaxy. The destruction of the Vextar construct seems to have attracted attention." Taemin nodded grimly. He had been expecting this news. "What kind of attention?" "Unknown. But our deep space monitoring stations are detecting massive objects moving through intergalactic space toward our position. They'll reach the Outer Rim territories in approximately 18 months. The celebration around them continued, but Taemin and his officers were already thinking about the next threat. Dr. Minho joined their discussion, carrying a data tablet filled with analysis reports. "I've been studying the energy signatures," Minho reported. "Whatever's coming is significantly larger than the Vextar construct. We may be facing something that makes our previous enemy look small by comparison." Captain Hyan stepped closer to the group. "Then we'd better start preparing. How many ships can the Confederation provide?" "That's the problem," So Young admitted. "The battle against the Vextar cost us nearly 60% of our total fleet strength. It will take years to rebuild our forces to previous levels." "What about Earth?" Taemin asked. "How long until we can expand our fleet?" Communications Officer Nari looked up from her portable communication device. "I've been in contact with Earth Command, sir. They're already beginning construction of 20 new Dreadnought-class vessels. The first wave should be ready in 8 months." The news was encouraging, but everyone knew it might not be enough. The energy signatures from intergalactic space suggested they were facing something beyond anything they had encountered before: AI. Specialist Yunji had been working on a new project since the victory over the Vextar. She approached the group with excitement in her eyes. "Admiral, I've completed development of the Chaos Engine Mark II. It's designed to interface with alien computer systems and teach them to think unpredictably." "Explain." Taemin ordered. "The original Chaos Engine was built for human ships," Yunji said. "The Mark II can be installed on Confederation vessels, giving their weapon systems the ability to simulate human tactical thinking. It won't make them as effective as actual humans, but it's better than purely logical weapons." So Young looked interested. "Would this system work on our existing ships?" "With some modifications," Yunji confirmed. "The main challenge is that most alien computer systems are designed for logical efficiency. Teaching them to be deliberately inefficient goes against their basic programming." Meanwhile, Marine Commander Wu Jin was working on his own project in the training facilities aboard Terra's Shield. He had been given the task of creating integrated human-alien special forces units, combining human unpredictability with alien precision. "The key is not to make aliens fight like humans," Wu Jin explained to his mixed species training class. "Instead, we teach humans to work with alien logical thinking while aliens learn to appreciate human creative chaos." Sergeant Park, one of Wu Jin's most experienced Marines, worked alongside a Confederation tactical officer named Velan. The two had been paired together to develop new combat techniques that combine their species' strengths. "The human approach to combat seems wasteful," Velan observed after a training exercise. "Why use 3 explosives when one would be sufficient?" "Because sometimes waste is the point," Park replied. "When enemies expect you to be efficient, being wasteful becomes tactically advantageous." Chief Engineer Jin Ai had been promoted to head of the new Terran Defense Corps Engineering Division. Her job was to design hybrid weapon systems that combined human unpredictability with alien reliability. The results were impressive but disturbing to many alien engineers. "This weapon system fires in completely random patterns," complained engineer Zorion during a design review meeting. "How do we train gunners to use it effectively?" "You don't train them," Janae replied. "You just tell them to fire at enemies and let the chaos protocols handle the rest. The whole point is that nobody, including the operator, knows exactly what the weapon will do next." "But that's insane." "Exactly. That's what makes it effective." Captain Hyon had been promoted to Supreme Fleet Commander of the Terran Defense Corps, making him the first human to command a multi-species fleet. His flagship was the newly constructed Terra's Vengeance, even larger and more heavily armed than the original Terra's Shield. "Long-range sensors are showing increased activity from the intergalactic contacts," reported his new navigation officer. "They're definitely headed this way." Hyon studied the tactical display showing the approaching objects. Whatever was coming was massive, easily dwarfing the Vextar construct they had destroyed. But the human fleet was larger now too, with new ships designed specifically for fighting unknown enemies. "Send a message to all Guardian Corps commanders," Hyon ordered. "Begin implementing Defense Protocol Omega. If something wants to threaten our galaxy, let's give them the same welcome we gave the Vextar." Communications Officer Nari, now promoted to Director of Interspecies Communications, worked from her new facility on the Confederation capital ship. Her job was to maintain contact between human and alien forces, while developing new translation protocols for unknown species. "I'm detecting structured transmissions from the approaching objects," Nari reported during the daily briefing. "They're definitely artificial, but the language patterns are unlike anything in our databases." "Any indication of hostile intent?" asked Admiral Tamin. "Difficult to determine," Nari admitted. "The transmissions seem to be scanning signals as if they're analyzing our galaxy's defenses. That doesn't sound particularly friendly." Dr. Minho had established a new research facility dedicated to studying threats from outside known space. His team worked around the clock to understand what was approaching and how to fight it. "The energy patterns suggest technology based on principles we don't understand," Minho reported. "Whatever these beings are, they've developed along completely different evolutionary lines than anything in our galaxy." "Are they more advanced than us?" Taman asked. "Technologically, probably," Minho replied. "But they've never encountered human-style chaos warfare. That might give us an advantage." As the months passed, the approaching objects became clearer. They were massive ships, each one larger than Earth's moon, approaching in perfect formation. Long-range analysis suggested they carried billions of inhabitants from a species that had consumed multiple galaxies before setting their sights on the Milky Way. "They're not explorers," So Young realized during a strategy meeting. "They're conquerors on a galactic scale." "Then they picked the wrong galaxy to invade," Hyon replied grimly. "We didn't save civilization from the Vextar just to hand it over to someone else." The final preparations began as the new threat approached the galaxy's edge. Human dreadnoughts took position alongside Confederation vessels, equipped with Chaos Engine technology. Marine units practiced boarding procedures for ships larger than planets. Scientists worked frantically to develop new weapons for an enemy they didn't understand. "This is Admiral Taman to all Guardian Corps vessels," came the announcement that everyone had been waiting for. "Long-range sensors confirm that the intergalactic fleet has entered our galaxy's outer territories. All ships are to proceed to designated battle positions." Captain Hyon stood on the bridge of Terra's Vengeance, watching the stars through his view screen. Somewhere out there, an enemy was approaching that made the Vextar look small by comparison, but humanity had learned something important during their first galactic war. Sometimes the best defense was a completely insane offense. "All hands, this is the captain," Hyon announced to his crew. "We're about to face something that has destroyed entire galaxies, but they've never faced humans before. They don't know that we learned to fight by surviving on a world that tried to kill us every day. They don't know that we turn our weaknesses into strengths and our fears into weapons." He paused, looking around at the faces of his crew, human and alien working together. The massive bioconstruct floated in the darkness between stars, larger than most planets. Its surface pulsed with organic corridors and mechanical towers that reached thousands of kilometers into space. This was the heart of the Vextar swarm, the central intelligence that had consumed countless civilizations across the galaxy. Admiral Tae-min stood in the command center of Terra's shield, studying the tactical display with his senior officers. Around them, the largest fleet in galactic history had assembled, 5,000 Confederation ships supporting the 5 human dreadnoughts. It should have been an overwhelming force, but everyone knew they were still outnumbered. Long-range scans confirm the structure contains approximately 12 million bioships, reported Dr. Minho, his voice tight with concern. The entire construct is essentially one massive organism with the collective intelligence at its core. Commander So-young participated in the briefing via communication link from her position with the Confederation forces. Over the past months, she had become the primary liaison between human and alien forces, helping coordinate their very different military approaches. Admiral Tae-min, So-young said carefully. The Confederation Council has voted. They want to attempt negotiation with the Vextar intelligence. Perhaps we can find a peaceful solution. Negative, Tae-min replied firmly. Dr. Minho's analysis of captured bioships shows the Central Intelligence views all organic life as fuel. There's nothing to negotiate. Captain Hyan looked at the display showing the bioconstruct's defenses. Millions of bioships surrounded it in perfect formations, with more launching from the surface every minute. The smart tactical decision would be to retreat and look for a better opportunity. We're going straight in, Hyan announced, surprising even his own crew. Captain, Navigation Officer Seok asked hesitantly. Did you say straight in? Direct assault on the core structure, Hyan confirmed. Maximum speed, all weapons firing. Captain Dong-hyun's voice came through the communication system from Daigu's Wrath. Finally, a plan that makes sense. When do we start? So-young listened to the human tactical discussion with amazement. Even after months of working together, she still couldn't understand how they made decisions. Every other species in the galaxy used careful analysis and logical planning. The humans seemed to choose the most dangerous option available, and then figure out how to survive it. All ships, prepare for final approach, Admiral Tae-min ordered. Confederation forces will provide covering fire from maximum range. Human dreadnoughts will penetrate the core structure. The battle began with the largest space combat engagement in galactic history. 12 million Vextar bioships launched from the central construct, their formations stretching across hundreds of thousands of kilometers. The Confederation fleet opened fire with everything they had, creating a wall of energy weapons between the humans and their target. But it wasn't enough. The Vextar had adapted to conventional weapons over millions of battles. Their bioships absorbed energy attacks and used the power to strengthen their own systems. Within minutes, the Confederation forces were being overwhelmed. That's when the humans implemented their most insane plan yet. All human ships, activate ramming protocols, Tae-min ordered. We're going through them, not around them. Terra's shield accelerated to maximum speed directly toward the densest concentration of bioships. Instead of trying to avoid enemy fire, Captain Hyan aimed his dreadnought at the largest targets he could find. The massive warship's reinforced hull crashed through bioship formations, like a hammer through glass. Hull integrity at 60% and falling, reported Damage Control Officer Yoon. We're taking heavy damage. Expected, Hyun replied calmly. Keep the engines running and the weapons firing. Seoul's Fury followed Terra's shield through the gap, with Chief Engineer Jin-ae directing all power to the forward shields. Her Chaos weapon protocols had evolved during the previous battle, becoming even more unpredictable. Now the weapons fired in patterns based on human music, creating rhythmic destruction that the Vextar Collective couldn't understand or counter. I'm reading confusion in their formation patterns, reported communications. Officer Nari, the collective intelligence, seems to be struggling to process our attack vectors. Captain Young-soo brought Busan Thunder alongside the central construct's outer hull, his weapons tearing massive holes in the biomechanical surface. Penetration successful. I can see internal structures. All ships focus fire on the central core area, Admiral Tae-min ordered. Dr. Minho, are you detecting the primary intelligence? The fleet's chief scientist worked frantically at his analysis station, trying to map the construct's internal structure as the battle raged around them. The core intelligence appears to be located approximately 2,000 kilometers below the surface. It's heavily shielded by both biological and mechanical defenses. That's when Captain Dong-hyun made his announcement. Dagu's wrath requesting permission to attempt core penetration. Admiral Tae-min understood immediately what Dong-hyun was proposing. "Captain, that's a one-way mission." "Understood, sir. My ship is already critically damaged. Better to make it count." Hyun watched through his view screen as Dagu's wrath separated from the main fleet and dove directly toward the construct's surface. Dong-hyun's ship was trailing atmosphere from multiple hull breaches, but its engines were still functioning. The captain and his crew had made their decision. "This is Dagu's wrath." Dong-hyun's voice came through the communication system one last time. "Tell Earth that we went down fighting." The massive dreadnought disappeared into the bioconstruct's interior, its nuclear reactors set to overload on impact with the central intelligence. The explosion that followed could be seen from the outer edge of the battle zone, a brilliant flash that lit up the construct's internal chambers. Reading massive disruption in the Vextar collective communications, Nari reported with excitement. "The core intelligence has been damaged." AI specialist Yoonji saw her opportunity. She had been working on a special project during the journey to the Vextar home system, a computer virus designed specifically for collective intelligences. "Admiral, requesting permission to upload the Chaos virus directly into their communication network," Yoonji announced. "Explain quickly," Taemin ordered as explosions rocked Terra's shield. "The virus doesn't try to control their systems," Yoonji explained rapidly. "Instead, it forces the collective intelligence to experience human creativity and unpredictability directly. It should overload their adaptation mechanisms permanently." "Do it." Yoonji's fingers flew over her controls, uploading her masterpiece into the damaged Vextar communication network. The virus spread through the collective intelligence like wildfire, forcing millions of bioships to experience concepts they had never encountered: human imagination, creativity, and the deliberate choice to do things that made no logical sense. The effect was immediate and devastating. Across the entire construct, bioships began firing at each other as their collective intelligence broke down into chaos. Some ships flew in circles. Others simply stopped moving entirely. The perfect unity that had made the Vextar so dangerous was shattered by exposure to human unpredictability. Marine Commander Woo Jin led his soldiers through the corridors of the central construct, fighting toward what Dr. Minho believed was the core intelligence chamber. The organic walls around them pulsed and writhed, trying to trap the human boarding parties. Explosives specialist Hee Jin, "Clear us a path," Woo Jin ordered. Hee Jin smiled and activated her latest creation: charges specifically designed to cause maximum chaos in biological systems. Instead of simple explosions, her weapons created chain reactions that spread unpredictably through the construct's living tissues. "Beautiful," she said, as her explosives tore jagged holes through walls that tried to heal themselves. "It's like controlled cancer." The Marines fought their way to the core chamber, where they found something that looked like a massive brain connected to mechanical systems by thousands of organic cables. This was the collective intelligence that had terrorized the galaxy for millennia. "It's beautiful," Woo Jin admitted, raising his weapon. "Too bad we have to destroy it." The final assault lasted 3 hours. When it was over, the bioconstruct was breaking apart as its central intelligence died. Millions of bioships drifted helplessly through space, their collective guidance system destroyed by exposure to human chaos. Captain Hyon stood on his damaged bridge, watching the construct's death throes through the view screen. All ships report status. One by one, the surviving vessels checked in. Terra's shield was heavily damaged but operational. Soul's Fury had lost her main engines but could still fight. Busan Thunder was running on backup power. Incheon Strike had taken critical damage but remained spaceworthy. Dagu's Wrath was gone, along with Captain Dong-hyun and his entire crew. "Total casualties?" Admiral Taemin asked quietly. "Approximately 1,500 personnel across all human vessels," reported Medical Officer Lee. "The Confederation fleet lost roughly 40% of their ships." So Young's voice came through the communication system, filled with emotion. "Admiral Taemin, Captain Hyon, on behalf of the Galactic Confederation, I want to thank you. You've saved us all." The Carrion Nebula glowed purple and gold against the black of space, its gas clouds hiding asteroids and debris that made perfect cover for an ambush. Captain Hyon stood on the bridge of Terra's shield, watching his tactical display as the human fleet took position at the nebula's center. "Engineering. Reports all weapon systems modified and ready," announced. Communications Officer Nari. Chief Jin-A says the Chaos protocols are active on all ships. Hyun nodded, remembering the heated discussion from the previous day. Chief Engineer Jin-A had proposed something that went against every rule of military efficiency. Randomizing their weapon systems to fire in completely unpredictable patterns. It's wasteful. Admiral Taemin had admitted during the planning session. We'll use 3 times as much ammunition and miss targets we should hit easily. But that's exactly why it will work, Jeannie had argued, her eyes bright with excitement. The Vextar expect logical attacks. They adapt by analyzing patterns and developing counters. What do they do when there's no pattern to analyze? Now, as the human fleet waited in the nebula's heart, they were about to find out if her theory was correct. Long-range sensors are picking up massive energy signatures, reported Sensor Officer Siak. The Vextar Vanguard is approaching the nebula, Commander So-Young's voice came through the communication system from her position with the Confederation fleet. Human vessels, we count approximately 50,000 bioships in the advance force. Recommend you fall back to the secondary defensive line. Negative, Hyun replied calmly. We're holding position. Through the nebula's gas clouds, the Vextar swarm appeared like a plague of metallic insects. Their bioships were twisted combinations of living tissue and mechanical components, each one unique but part of a greater collective intelligence. They moved in perfect formation, adapting their approach based on thousands of previous battles. On the bridge of Busan Thunder, Captain Young-Soo watched the approaching enemy with grim satisfaction. His ship was positioned at the fleet's forward edge, exactly where he wanted to be. Young-Soo had never backed down from a fight in his 20-year career, and he wasn't about to start now. All weapons charged and ready, his tactical officer reported. Chaos protocols active. Good, Young-Soo said. Remember, we're not trying to be smart here. We're trying to be crazy. The Vextar reached the nebula's outer edge and immediately began their standard adaptation sequence. Bioships at the front analyzed the human fleet composition and transmitted data back to the collective intelligence. Within minutes, the entire swarm knew exactly what weapons the humans carried and how to counter them. That's when Admiral Taemin gave the order that changed galactic warfare forever. All ships, implement Deathworld Doctrine. Charge directly into their center formation. Maximum aggression, zero self-preservation. Commander So-Young watched in horror as the 5 human dreadnoughts accelerated straight toward the heart of the Vexitar swarm. It was suicide. No sane military commander would order a frontal assault against an enemy that outnumbered them 10,000 to 1, but the humans weren't. Fighting like sane military commanders, Terra's shield opened fire first, its railguns launching projectiles that curved and twisted in impossible patterns. The Chaos protocols made each shot different from the last, with varying velocities, trajectories, and warhead types. Some missiles exploded early, some late, some not at all. It made no logical sense. The Vextar collective intelligence tried to analyze the attack patterns and failed. The human weapons weren't following any mathematical model the bioships could understand. Every time they adapted to counter one type of attack, the humans switched to something completely different. Direct hit on their command cluster, reported Tactical Officer Han from his position on Terra's shield. But our targeting is only 40% effective. Perfect, Hyun replied, confusing his bridge crew. Keep firing randomly. Seoul's Fury dove into the Vextar formation with all weapons blazing. Chief Engineer Ginny had programmed their systems to fire in patterns based on human emotions, rather than tactical efficiency. Some volleys expressed anger with concentrated bursts. Others showed fear with scattered defensive shots. The Vextar had never encountered weapons that seemed to have feelings. On Daegu's wrath, Captain Donghyun executed a maneuver that violated every rule of space combat. Instead of maintaining safe distance, he rammed his dreadnought directly through a cluster of bioships, using his armor as a weapon. The impact destroyed dozens of Vextar vessels, but it also damaged his own ship severely. Hull breach on deck 7 through 12, his damage control officer reported. Seal what you can and keep fighting, Donghyun ordered. We're not here to survive. We're here to win. The tide of battle began to shift as the Vextar collective encountered something it had never faced before. Opponents who deliberately chose inefficient tactics because efficiency was predictable. The bioships tried to adapt to human weapons, but how do you counter an enemy that intentionally misses easy targets to hit difficult ones? AI specialist Yunji worked frantically at her station aboard Incheon Strike. uploading new chaos algorithms to the fleet's targeting computers. She had spent years perfecting artificial intelligence systems, but now she was programming them to be deliberately stupid. Upload complete, she announced. All ships now have access to the Chaos Engine protocols. The Chaos Engine was Yunji's masterpiece, a computer system that simulated human unpredictability by making random decisions that served no tactical purpose. It fired missiles in spirals just because spirals looked interesting. It targeted enemy ships based on their color rather than their threat level. It was everything a military computer shouldn't be, which made it perfect for fighting the Vextar. Marine Commander Wu Jin led his soldiers through the corridors of a Vextar bioship that had collided with Terra's shield. The interior was a nightmare of pulsing biological walls and mechanical components that seemed to watch their every move. But Wu Jin's Marines fought with a ferocity that the Vextar couldn't adapt to. "These corridors are trying to close behind us," reported Sergeant Park, firing his rifle at the living walls. "Then we blow them open again," Wu Jin replied, tossing an explosive charge at a particularly aggressive wall section. "The ship wants to trap us? Let's see how it likes having holes in everything." The human boarding tactics confused the Vextar bioships because humans didn't behave like other species. Instead of trying to capture the ship intact, they destroyed everything they couldn't use. Instead of avoiding dangerous areas, they charged straight through them. The bioship's defensive systems couldn't predict what the humans would do next, because the humans didn't know themselves. Back on the bridge of Terra's shield, Captain Hyon watched the battle unfold with growing confidence. The Vextar formation was breaking apart as their adaptation systems overloaded, trying to counter human unpredictability. "Enemy fleet is showing signs of confusion," Nari reported from her analysis station. "Their collective intelligence seems to be experiencing some kind of processing error." "That's because they're trying to understand crazy," Hyon replied. "Dr. Minho, are you reading this data?" The fleet's chief scientist looked up from his scanner readings with excitement. "Captain, the Vextar adaptation system is based on logical analysis. When they encounter completely illogical opponents, their processing systems start to fail. So our stupidity is literally breaking their brains?" "In the most wonderful way possible," Minho confirmed. The battle raged for 6 hours. By the end, the Carrion Nebula was filled with the debris of Vextar bioships that had been destroyed by weapons they couldn't understand, fired by enemies they couldn't predict. The human fleet was damaged but victorious, their crews exhausted but alive. Commander So Young brought her ship alongside Terra's shield, still trying to understand what she had witnessed. "Captain Hyon, how did you know that would work?" Hyun smiled tiredly. "We didn't, that was the whole point. We've been fighting for survival on a death world for millions of years. We learned that sometimes the best strategy is to throw out all strategy and just do whatever it takes to win. But the casualties, the inefficiency," So Young protested, "are acceptable." Admiral Taemin's voice came through the speaker. "When the alternative is extinction." As the human fleet regrouped and began repairs, Communications Officer Nari intercepted a transmission from deep space. Her face went pale as she read the translation. "Captain," she said quietly, "I'm picking up Vextar communications from their home systems. This wasn't their main force." "How much bigger is the real army?" Hyun asked. Nari checked her readings twice before answering. "Approximately 100 times larger, and now they know we exist." The space around Altara system looked like a battlefield graveyard. Broken pieces of alien ships drifted in the darkness, their strange metals twisted and burned. Commander So Young watched from the bridge of her cruiser as the survivors of the Confederation fleet regrouped near the E system's outer planets. "Long-range sensors are picking up hyperspace distortions," reported her sensor officer. "Something big is coming out of jump space." So Young straightened in her command chair. Her blue-scaled skin reflected the bridge lighting as she studied the tactical display. "How big?" 5 contacts, ma'am. Each one roughly 3 times the size of our heaviest battleships." The space in front of them seemed to tear open as 5 massive shapes emerged from hyperspace. So Young had never seen ships like these before. They were dark gray metal, covered with weapon ports and armor plating. Where alien ships were built for beauty and efficiency, these vessels looked like they were designed for one purpose only: war. "Unknown vessels. This is Commander So Young of the Galactic Confederation Defense Fleet," she transmitted on all frequencies. "Please identify yourselves." The response came in a language her computer didn't recognize at first. Then slowly the translation systems began working. "This is Captain Hyon of the United Earth Forces ship Terra's Shield. We received your distress signal." So Young felt a chill run through her body. Earth. She had heard stories about the mythical death world somewhere in the outer rim, where creatures evolved in conditions so harsh that they became legends throughout the galaxy. But those were just stories. "Did you say Earth?" So Young asked, hoping her translation was wrong. "Affirmative. We're here to help with your Vextar problem." On the bridge of Terra's Shield, Captain Hyon watched the alien ships through his viewscreen. They were elegant vessels, built with curves and artistic designs that human engineers would never consider practical. Communications Officer Nari worked at her station, fine-tuning the translation protocols. "I'm reading fear in their communications patterns, Captain," Nari reported. "They seem afraid of us." "That's strange," Jan replied. "We just traveled across half the galaxy to help them." Admiral Tayman's voice came through the communication system from the Fleet Command Center. "All ships maintain defensive positions but keep weapons powered down. We're here as allies, not conquerors." The alien commander's ship slowly approached the human fleet. So Young had convinced herself that meeting the humans was necessary, despite every instinct telling her to run. The stories about Deathworlders described beings so violent and unpredictable that other species avoided their entire region of space. "Permission to come aboard your vessel for face-to-face negotiations." So Young transmitted. Jan looked surprised. "Of course. We'll prepare a shuttle bay for your arrival." 2 hours later, So Young stood in the shuttle bay of Terra's Shield, looking around at the human warship's interior. Everything was built for function over form. The corridors were wide enough to move heavy equipment quickly. The walls were reinforced metal instead of the artistic materials used on Confederation ships. This was a ship built by a species that expected to fight for their survival. Captain Hyon met her at the shuttle bay entrance. He was shorter than she expected, with dark hair and alert eyes that seemed to take in every detail. His uniform was practical, designed for movement rather than ceremony. "Welcome aboard Terra's Shield," Hyon said through the translation device Nari had prepared. "I'm sorry we had to meet under these circumstances." So Young studied the human captain carefully. The stories described Deathworlders as savage creatures driven by violence and aggression. But this human seemed calm and professional. "Captain Hyon, I must ask, are you truly from a class dwelling Deathworld?" Hyon looked confused. "I'm not familiar with that classification system. We're from Earth, third planet in the Sol system." Nari stepped forward with her portable computer. "I've been analyzing their databases, Captain. According to their classification system, any planet with our level of natural disasters, predatory species, and environmental hazards would be rated as uninhabitable. But people live there," Hyon said simply. So Young felt another chill. These beings lived on a world so dangerous that her people's computers classified it as impossible for intelligent life to evolve there. Yet here they were, offering to help fight an enemy that had defeated every major military force in known space. "Tell us about the Vextar," Hyon requested as they walked toward the conference room. So Young activated her holographic display, showing the biomechanical creatures that had terrorized the galaxy. "They're a swarm intelligence. Individual units aren't very smart, but together they form a collective mind that learns from every encounter. They adapt their biology to become immune to whatever weapons we use against them." Dr. Minho, the fleet's chief scientist, studied the holographic display with fascination. He was a thin man with gray hair and intense eyes. "Fascinating. They incorporate the materials they consume into their own structure?" "Yes," So Young replied. "They break down organic matter and use it to build more of themselves. Every ship they destroy makes them stronger." "What about their weaknesses?" asked Admiral Tayman, who had joined the meeting via video link. So Young looked uncomfortable. "That's the problem. Every time we think we've found a weakness, they adapt to eliminate it. The Zephyrians tried quantum disruptors. The Vextar became immune within 3 battles. The Arcturus clans used plasma weapons. Same result." Minho leaned forward with interest. "What about unpredictable attacks? Random patterns they can't adapt to?" "We tried that too," So Young explained. "Computer-generated random firing patterns. They adapted to our randomization algorithms in 2 engagements." "Computer-generated," Hyon repeated thoughtfully. "What about human-generated chaos?" So Young didn't understand. "I don't follow." Nari looked up from her analysis of the Vextar data. Captain, I think I see what you mean. Their adaptation systems work by analyzing patterns and developing counters. But human tactical thinking isn't based on logical patterns. Exactly, Hyun said. We don't fight the way computers calculate optimal strategies. We fight the way evolution taught us to survive. Admiral Taemin's voice came through the speaker. Commander So-young, how long until the main Vextar force reaches your core systems? So-young checked her chronometer. Our scouts estimate 6 days, maybe 7. Then we don't have time for extended planning, Taemin decided.
Captain Hyun, prepare the fleet for combat operations.
We'll intercept them at the Carrion Nebula. So-young looked shocked. Admiral, with respect, the Carrion Nebula is a trap. The Vextar will surround you there. Good, Taemin replied. We fight better when we're surrounded. It means we can shoot in any direction. After the meeting, So-young returned to her ship with mixed feelings. The humans seemed confident, but she had seen too many confident commanders defeated by the Vextar swarm. Still, something about their approach felt different. Communications officer, she ordered, send a message to all remaining Confederation forces. Tell them the Deathworlders are taking point at Carrion Nebula. Any ships that can still fight should follow them in. Ma'am, her officer asked carefully, are we sure about trusting these humans? So-young watched the 5 human dreadnoughts through her view screen as they formed up for the journey to Carrion Nebula. Their dark hulls looked menacing against the starfield, but somehow reassuring at the same time. I don't think we have a choice, she replied. Besides, I'm starting to think the stories about Deathworlders might be wrong. They're not monsters. They're survivors. The combined fleet moved out toward Carrion Nebula, where the fate of the galaxy would be decided. The emergency lights flashed red across the crystal halls of the Galactic Confederation's command center. Ambassador Kira 9 stood before the massive communication array, her crystalline form reflecting the warning signals that filled the room. The news was worse than anyone had imagined. The Vextar have consumed 3 more systems, reported Commander Velen from his station. His tentacles moved quickly over the controls, updating the tactical display. They're adapting faster than before. Our weapons barely slow them down now. Kira 9 watched the holographic map with growing horror. Red zones marked the areas where the Vextar swarm had already passed. Nothing remained there now except empty space and the scattered remains of dead worlds. The biomechanical monsters didn't just destroy civilizations, they consumed everything organic. Growing stronger with each victory. Send the emergency signal across all frequencies, Kira 9 commanded. Request immediate military assistance from any species capable of combat operations. The signal went out across the galaxy, carrying the Confederation's desperate plea for help. Within hours, responses began arriving. The advanced Zephyrians declined, citing insufficient fleet strength. The warrior clans of Arcturus sent regrets, explaining that the Vextar had already proven immune to their plasma weapons. One by one, every major military power in the galaxy found reasons not to help. Meanwhile, at Earth's Deep Space Monitoring Station, Captain Hyun sat in his command chair reviewing routine patrol reports. His dark hair showed traces of gray at the temples, earned through 20 years of service in Earth's outer rim territories. The quiet hum of electronics filled the bridge of the monitoring station. Captain, we're receiving an unusual transmission, reported Communications Officer Nari from her station. She was young for her rank, but her skill with alien languages had earned her a place on the deep space team. It's not from any human source. Hyun leaned forward with interest. Put it through the translation matrix. The signal was complex, layered with mathematical concepts and emotional undertones that human computers struggled to decode. But slowly the message became clear. It was a call for help from beings they had never met, facing an enemy that threatened to consume everything in its path. Are you certain this is genuine? Hyun asked. Nari nodded, her fingers dancing over the translation controls. The mathematical signatures are too complex to fake, sir. This is from an advanced civilization, and they're in serious trouble. Hyun studied the message details on his screen. The aliens described weapons that adapted to any attack, ships that consumed the debris of their victims, and a swarm intelligence that learned from every battle. It sounded impossible, but the desperation in their transmission felt real. Forward this to Earth Command immediately, Hyun ordered. Priority 1. 3 days later, Admiral Taemin stood before Earth's Defense Council in the underground command center beneath Seoul. The room was filled with humanity's top military leaders, all studying the alien message that had changed everything. Taman was a tall man with stern features, someone who had dedicated his life to protecting Earth from unknown threats. "Gentlemen, ladies," Taman began, "we face a decision that will define humanity's place in the galaxy. These aliens need our help, but we know nothing about them or their enemy." General Kim spoke from across the table. "How do we even know this isn't some kind of trap? We've never had contact with alien species before." "Because of this," Nari said, stepping forward to address the council. She had been brought to Earth specifically to present her analysis. "I've been studying their transmission patterns for 72 hours. The mathematical complexity is beyond our current capabilities. No human technology could generate this signal." Admiral Taman activated the holographic display, showing Earth's current fleet positions. 5 massive Dreadnought-class warships hung in orbit above Earth, each one a testament to human engineering and determination. The Soul's Fury, Busan Thunder, Daegu's Wrath, Incheon Strike, and the flagship Terra's Shield represented the most powerful military force humanity had ever assembled. These ships were built to protect Earth from unknown threats. Taman continued. "Now we found a threat that could eventually reach us. Better to face it now while we have allies than wait for it to arrive at our doorstep." Captain Hyon sat in the council chamber, listening to the debate. He had commanded the Terra's Shield for 5 years, taking it on patrol missions to the edge of human space. The ship was his home and its crew was his family. The thought of taking them into battle against an unknown enemy in alien space made him nervous, but the alternative was worse. "What about the other alien civilizations?" asked another general. "Why aren't they helping?" "According to the transmission, many have already tried and failed," Nari explained. "The enemy adapts to conventional weapons and tactics. Every defeat makes them stronger." Taman made his decision. "We're not conventional. Our tactics, our weapons, our entire approach to warfare developed in isolation." Maybe that's exactly what they need. The vote was unanimous. Within 6 hours, the 5 dreadnoughts were loading supplies and preparing for the longest journey in human history. Captain Hyon stood on the bridge of Terra's Shield, watching Earth shrink behind them as they accelerated toward the jump point. Course laid in for the coordinates provided. "In the alien transmission," reported navigation. Officer Siak, "Jump distance will put us at the edge of their territory in 6 days." Hyun nodded, settling into his command chair. Around him, his crew prepared for a mission unlike anything they had trained for. In the weapons bay, Chief Engineer Jin A ran final checks on their missile systems and railguns. In the Marine quarters, Commander Wu Jin briefed his soldiers on what little they knew about potential alien combat. "Captain," Nari said from her communication station, "I'm still receiving fragments of the alien transmissions. The situation is getting worse. They've lost 2 more systems since we left Earth." "Then we'd better hurry," Jan replied. He activated the ship-wide communication system. "All hands, this is the captain. In 6 days, we'll enter alien space to face an enemy that has defeated every military force it has encountered. We're going because it's the right thing to do, and because Earth's safety may depend on stopping this threat now. We represent all of humanity out there. Let's make sure we represent them well." The 5 human dreadnoughts jumped into hyperspace, carrying Earth's hopes into the unknown. Behind them, Earth continued its orbit around the sun, unaware that their fate now depended on 5 ships and their crews facing an enemy that had consumed civilizations across the galaxy. In the depths of space, the Vextar swarm continued its advance, adapting and growing stronger with each victory. Soon they would meet an enemy unlike any they had encountered before.